will be having these rituals now and then before the ceremony is done, because the most significant part of this ceremony was the scepter, the Sengol, being placed besides the speaker's seat. That marked the hallmark or the opening of this new parliament building. Our principal diplomatic correspondent, Sidhan Sibol, is still standing by live in New Delhi. Sidhan Sibol, going forward, what should Indians look out for with this new parliament building?
Well, many Indians, not only in India but across the world, will be looking up to the new parliament building as symbolic of their aspirations, even as the rituals have started for the inauguration of the new parliament building. We know Indian Prime Minister is inside the complex, and it took almost 3 years to build the parliament since the foundation stone was laid in 2020. But I can tell you the ground situation where I am standing. I'm just standing in front of the new parliament building. There's massive security presence around me. A lot of media personnel also present around me, because this day and of course the inauguration of the parliament building is seen as a significant milestone in the democratic evolution of India. India being the largest democracy, and something that India has pointed out, the Indian Prime Minister has pointed out at the global stage, calling India as the mother of democracy. But essentially this parliament building will be seen as symbolic of an India which is taking an important role in the global architecture, global governance architecture. And to mark that as well, the Indian government will issue a ₹75 coin as well to commemorate this important juncture. But essentially, when it comes to the focus area, when it comes to the new building, it is much larger when it comes to the previous building, and it also takes care of the need of future MPs in terms of the growing population of India, the delimitation and its impact. So that is why it can house much more number of MPs. Its lifespan, according to reports, is around 150. Of course, the old parliament building stood in terms of its usage for almost 75 years or 80 years if we go by the calculation since it was built. But essentially symbolic of the rise of India at the global stage, this parliament building will be seen as an important structure and an embodiment of the aspirations of a new India.
Sibol, just before I let you go, there's one important question I have to ask you right now. There were reports that a total of 21 opposition parties, including the Congress, TMC and AAP, announced that they will boycott the inauguration of the new parliament building. Do we have more details about that? Is there evidence that the opposition members have boycotted this inaugural ceremony?
Well, yes, that is correct. As we have been talking about, the opposition, Indian opposition, has announced that they are going to boycott the entire ceremony. There was a statement that was issued earlier this week, and the primary reason that the Indian opposition has said that it's going to boycott is that the inauguration of the Indian Parliament should have taken place with the Indian President presiding over the ceremonies, not the Indian Prime Minister. We know that according to today's agenda, the Indian Prime Minister will lead the ceremonies, and of course there will be presence of the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, which is the lower house of the Indian Parliament, and the Rajya Sabha, who will be present, and the message of the Indian President will be read. But essentially their opposition is regarding the presence of the Indian President. We know that the Indian President is the ceremonial head of the Indian Republic, and she of course in the past they have been leading the Indian Republic. They have been the custodians of the Indian Constitution and essentially seen as figurehead, but important in terms of the ceremonial purposes. We know whenever the the sessions start, the monsoon session or the winter session, we know that the Indian president comes from the parliament, from the President House, which is near to the new and old building, and delivers the address, which of course is written by the government, but talks about the priorities of the Indian government. It's much like the British system, because of course we were the Indians were colonized by the British, so it is something which is derivative of the British culture. We know whenever the British the sessions start, the British Queen in the past, currently the British King, start the session by addressing the Parliament, which is of course the priorities of the government there. So India of course has adopted that system, but today of course the opposition has been saying that their primary focus is that the Indian president, the ceremonial head of the Indian Republic, the custodian of the Indian Constitution, should have been presiding over these ceremonies rather than the Indian Prime Minister. But for good or for bad, today is an important day and a milestone day for the Indian Republic, as its democracy plays an important role in the global sphere, but also its democracy gets a new house where of course the Indian MPs will be present and passing key legislation, key laws basically, that will play an important role in the governance of India.
That's right. That is our principal diplomatic correspondent, Sidhan Sibol, who is live in New Delhi. Sidhan Sibol, stay with us because we'll be getting more updates from you about this new Parliament building. And this is live at the new Parliament building, where the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, has already inaugurated the new Parliament building. So why is there a need for a new Parliament building in India? I will tell you why. Now, the present building was never designed to accommodate a bicameral legislature for a full-fledged democracy. The seating arrangements are cramped and cumbersome, with no desks beyond the new or the second row. The central hall has a sitting capacity for only 440 persons. When the joint sessions are held, the problem of limited seats is amplified. In the present Parliament House, the communications infrastructure and technology is antiquated. The acoustics of the halls needed major improvement. There are structural safety concerns of the building. The current Parliament building was built when Delhi was in the seismic zone 2. Currently, it is in the seismic zone 15.
सभी देशवासियों के मन में अहिंसा की भावना हो, अहिंसा परमो धर्म की जय। जय नवजयतु शासन।
नानक नाम चढ़दी कला, तेरे पाड़े सरबत दा भला। नानक नाम चढ़दी कला, तेरे पाड़े सरबत दा भला। जिसते होवे तेरी कृपा, जिसते होवे तेरी कृपा, उस दे सिर तो टले भला। नानक नाम चढ़दी कला, तेरे पाड़े सरबत दा भला। बिसर गई सब तात पराई, जब ते साध संगत मोहे पाई। ना को वैरी नहीं बिगाला, सगल संग हमको बन आई।
Well, the rituals are still ongoing at the new Parliament building, and this is from the Sikh community, I believe. So this will go on for a little while from now, at least 2 hours of rituals in the new building. Prayers have occurred. We've seen also songs being played by various religious communities who have gathered for this most important day in India, where India is moving from the old to the new, and this signifies the new India, so to speak. The Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, has already inaugurated or opened the new parliament. As you can see on your screen, that is the most significant aspect of this inaugural ceremony, the scepter or the Sengol being placed beside the speaker's seat, signifying the new parliament building is ready for business.